In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Amen. God our Father, bless and guide all those involved in Catholic Voices. Give us the gifts of the Holy Spirit that we need for this work, especially wisdom, gentleness, courage, and joy. Help us to be faithful to Christ and to His Church, and to be open to the questions that people bring us. Help us to love and respect all those we meet. Support us in our difficulties and setbacks. May our words and the witness of our lives give you glory and help others to be more open to you. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you.
So I'm so happy to see a nice full room, and I think a couple more actually might be slipping in. We'll try to get some
Wonderful.
chairs more on this side.
Yes.
I'm so pleased and honored to introduce to you today Jack Valero. Jack Valero comes to us from the UK. He is the coordinator and co-founder of Catholic Voices, which was comes from the US.
No. It started there in the UK, yes. And then he went to the US, exactly.
Yes,
you see? It's like the original thing.
I saw exactly. I saw the information, but I couldn't tell which came from which. So
like it happened in the beginning, yeah.
That's right. There we go.
Yes.
He's a member of Opus Dei and also a press secretary for the Opus Dei in the UK. He has coordinated a response team to the Da Vinci Code
yes.
In 2006. And in 2010, at the beatification of Cardinal John Newman, he was the press officer in preparation for and during that whole papal visit. And we are very honored to have you here today to learn all that we can to be a Catholic voice.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great to have you all here. So my objective today is to explain to you the basic things about our method of communication that we have learned, this chair there, in Catholic Voices, which we developed for the media, but which we think is helpful for any situation in life, family, work. At least I found this so. So I'd like to just introduce the topic to you. We normally give courses that last a week, so this will be a very, very concentrated session where I will tell you how the method works, and then we'll do several examples from the articles that some of you have seen and have been circulated to see if that helps you to talk about these topics as a Catholic. Because our objective is to give our message, but to be heard. So often we speak and nobody's listening. And this was particularly frustrating for me, thinking, we have this fantastic message and nobody's listening. In fact, sometimes the more we speak, the more people hate us. And so I think there's something not quite right. If our message is really good, then people should like to listen to it. Okay, so that's what we call communicating the faith without raising your voice. And as I start, I'm going to show you 3 photos, and I'd like you to, when you've seen the 3, just tell me words that come to your mind, okay? So the first one is from Manchester 1 week ago, when somebody came in with a suitcase and many people were killed, especially little girls. You remember that concert by Ariana Grande? And then about a year before, there'd been a shooter at a gay club in Orlando who had come in and killed 50 men. And this was the biggest killing since 9/11. And then another one of Aleppo, where everyone's bombing. You know, the Middle East is like a big problem site, and people are, there's bombs, and we need a couple more chairs over there. Thank you. So what words come to your mind? Can you? What? What? Sad, yeah. Horror. Anger. I couldn't hear you. Evil. Yeah. Fear. There's terrorism, yeah. Violence. What else?
Chaos.
Sorry?
Chaos.
Right. Okay. So we have these photos in the news all the time, right? right? We have events, and they show us these photos, they show us pictures, and they create these emotions. But in fact, if you look, I'm going to tell you, these 3 photos are photos about solidarity, right? About people helping people. So here you have a little girl being taken away, and then some friends taking their friend home. And here there's some people taking out somebody from the rubble to help him. Because whenever there is evil, there's always good that follows. And always, there's a fire in London the other day, 2 days ago. And the immediate thing you find is that all the neighbors around come and help and give food and shelter, and all the taxis are free and the hotels are free, and there's solidarity, right? So isn't that interesting that you have 2 stories? You have the story of evil, and then you have the story of solidarity. And we hear the first one. We want to tell the second one. We want to tell a second story. So for us, we think, okay, we're going to tell a story that's happening, that's not being told, but it's really happening every time. The story of the church, which is a story of mercy. So when the Pope said this, that as sons and daughters of God, we are called to communicate to everyone, and our story is a story of mercy, that's what's happening. And this is happening all the time, even though the other stories we hear about the church are about evil or difficulties or imposition or whatever. Behind those, there's always another story that we want to tell. So we want to be really good at telling that other story. We tell the church's story. That's what we want to do in my project. We want to tell the church's story. And so we started in 2010, and that's 7 years ago now. The Pope Benedict was coming to the UK. Anybody remember that time? A few people remember it. It was very controversial, right? Because some people, not many, but maybe 30, 40, 50 people, didn't want him to come, and they made a lot of noise, okay? One of the images of this is this one, this image, right? Now you think, oh, it's not very nice. This is Oxford Street, okay? And you look at this and you think, and things were building up to be like this in the UK, and the UK people are really, very nice, not like this photo here. But things were building up, and some people were getting a bit scared because they were thinking, is it going to be a really bad trip? You know, is it going to be negative? They're going to bring up all these things, so it's better that the Pope not come. Whereas a friend of mine and I were looking at this and thinking, this is going to be amazing, because whereas under normal circumstances a religious trip like the Pope's trip is announced and then it's forgotten because we're not so interested in religion, this time it's going to be in the news all the time for months and months. And when the Pope comes, there'll be lots of people. And you know what will happen? The media will want lots of comments on what's going on. And who's going to provide this comment? Well, it'd be good if it were Catholics who provide this comment, but there aren't Catholics to do this, so we will train them. So that's what we decided. We will train Catholics to speak when the Pope comes. And indeed, when he came, we managed to be in 100 news programs those days, and because in fact the media wanted Catholics. That's what would happen. We knew it would happen, and this indeed happened. So that's what we did. And we decided that we would be telling our story using the opportunity. And we don't always get the opportunity to tell our story, but when there is a controversy, this is your opportunity to tell your story. So, you know, I sent you 6 articles to read. Some of you read them, and you thought, oh, that's not very nice, because these are the controversies that arise. But my message to you today is your chance to talk about what you have in your heart happens. Your chance starts when there is a controversy in the newspapers. When those things that you have in your hands come out in the paper, that's your opportunity to talk about what's in your heart, about giving your message. So you You use the opportunity, you decide what your message is, and you tell it in a compelling way so people hear it. That's what we want. That's what we want to do. So we'll try and see what we did, okay? And what we found is that often people wouldn't listen to us because they were thinking about something else, okay? And we went, because we're in communication, we went to an idea in communications which is called the frame of a story. And the frame of a story is everything that people are thinking about you when the thing is about you, okay? So they may think, for example, Catholics are intolerant, right? So when you speak, you can either confirm that we are really intolerant because of the way you speak, or you can speak in a way that the people think, oh, that's not what I expected, because I expected them to be intolerant, but in fact, something else is happening here, okay? Now, there's lots of frames about the Catholic Church, and what we do as Catholics is we confirm them most of the time, and that's why people aren't listening. This is very strange, because we really, I mean, I've been a Catholic for all my life, but very keen Catholic, and I'm very keen to communicate my ideas. So why is it that I spend my life confirming the frames of what people think about me, rather than explaining the ideas properly? So that's what we were thinking. So let's think, what is the idea that most people think about the Catholic Church who are not in it and who are slightly critical of the Church? Okay, what do you think? Have you got some ideas? There are many things, many ideas people think about the Church. But there's one, I summarized it in one that more or less includes them all. Now, what do you think?
Sexual morality.
Sorry?
Sexual morality.
Sexual morality, that what? That we stop people doing anything? Or that we're all about sexual morality, right? Exactly, yes, that's one idea, yeah.
We're intolerant.
We're intolerant, yeah.
Narrow-minded.
We're narrow-minded.
Rigid.
We're preaching?
Rigid.
Oh, rigid, yeah, we are rigid, yeah, all these things. We live in the past, yeah. What else?
It seems that Catholic Church doesn't give freedom to people, so...
Stops your freedom, right, so it's against your freedom. Good, yeah.
Hate women.
They hate women, that's right, that's right.
I was going to say that we hate gays.
Gays, we discriminate. We like discrimination because we only like white heterosexual men. Everyone else, no. Yes, exactly. Okay, so there's a number of negative ideas there, but there's one that I found that encapsulates many of these, not all, but many of these, and that happens in most news stories, and which is this, that the Church is more concerned with its reputation, its money, its doctrine, than the good of people, okay? So it includes many of them. Can you think of any example? I mean, most of the examples you gave are included in this. Can anybody say an example?
The pre-scandal.
Yeah, so we're more concerned with our reputation than with the good of the protection of the children.
Contraception.
Yes, tell us about contraception.
The doctrine of contraception rather than the poor woman who's suffering.
Exactly. So we're more interested in this doctrine, wherever that comes from, as an idea, than in the helping this person in need. Contraception, but also the doctrine on what? Marriage? Yeah?
Reception of communion for divorce.
Okay, we're more interested in our doctrine about communion than in assisting people who have been divorced and are in pain. Or even marriage, we put our doctrine on marriage, it's more important than the happiness of gay people who can't get married.
Most of these seem to be doctrine more than status or possessions.
Well, possessions is also very strong, isn't it? Because the Vatican has all this money that should give to the poor, right? Instead of having the money, because more interested in our money, our possessions, our things, our little Vatican state. Look at this rich gold photograph of the Vatican, So yes, doctrines. Our doctrines come above people, and our possessions come above people, and our reputation comes above people, and everything, right? So that's sort of what people are thinking, that we are self-referential. Yeah, that's the background against which they're listening to us. Now, if we confirm the frame that we're self-referential, then they will not listen to us, because all they will hear is they're more interested in themselves than in me, and therefore I'm not interested in hearing. It's only when we come out of this frame that we can be heard. So we have to turn the tables around and say, no, I'm not interested more in myself than in you. I'm more interested in you than in myself. It's a simple thing, but then how to make this happen in our mind, right? But you see what I'm trying to do. But normally we have three ways of responding which are wrong to this frame when we are given this frame that stop us from being heard. The first one is to be angry, and we said that before, because they say, you don't. Sorry, to be scared of the controversy. The first one is to be scared, and you're scared of the things they talk about. They say about Pope. They used to say about the Pope Benedict, or they're scared about what they say about the abuse scandal, or scared about this doctrine that they won't be able to understand, or whatever. And so we don't want to speak at that moment, because in the paper and these articles are rather horrid. But in fact, it's only then that you have the little window opening of people listening. People aren't usually interested in what you have to say. This is the news. They're not interested in what we think. But for 10 minutes, they're interested. We need to use that opportunity, that controversy, to speak our message, not the message of the news, but our message that we are going to give. The second is to be angry, which is very common, because it's quite offensive sometimes, the way that things are put. And if you read some of these articles, because we are homophobic and we are so in the past and so anti-people, anti-this, anti-that, which is actually not true. None of that is true, so that makes us angry. That doesn't work either. So we need to ignore all of that. And then, but the most common one is to be defensive. You're attacked, and then you try to protect your own. But this is the paradox. The paradox is this, that if I say to you that people are thinking that for you, your doctrines are more important than the people, okay, and you are attacked in this way somehow, and your response is to try to explain to me what your doctrines are, what are you doing then? What will you be doing? You're confirming the frame that for you, your doctrines are more important. Now, however, I feel instinctively, if you're saying to me, your doctrine on marriage does not allow gay people to be happy. And then I'm saying, no, let me tell you what marriage is really. My marriage is this, this, and this, right? What I'm doing is, sorry, I couldn't care less about your gay people. I just want to tell you what my doctrines are, because my doctrines are beautiful, are great, and people are thinking, hey, these people really hate, And the more you open your mouth, the worse it becomes. You see what's happening here? Because of the dynamic of the frame, that they're only listening to the frame, unfortunately, the thing that comes most naturally to us makes it worse. Okay, so we need to do that. We need to explain those doctrines because they're beautiful. They are really beautiful, but not as a defense against the attack. Okay, we need to do something different before we do that. We got so far? So and now I tell you what not to do. So what should we do? Okay, because we have all these beautiful things to say. What should we do? Okay, so here's a very nice quote from Pope Francis just before he became Pope about the truth. That the truth is like a precious stone which seduces when you put it in your hand but wounds when you throw it in someone's face. It's like a diamond, it's beautiful. But if you throw it in someone's face, it hurts. And so this is like an introduction to empathy. We need the empathy of the other side. And our method is based on a very, 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 very simple idea, which I'm going to tell you now. And then you think, oh, well, that's completely obvious. Well, then I challenge you to put this into practice, okay, when you're speaking. And the idea is this. the foundational idea of the method of Catholic Voices is this one, that behind each criticism appeals to a value which is a Christian value, which we share. Okay? Every time that these frames are given against us, okay, they're appealing to values which are our values. So, let's go through the examples you gave. The priest scandal. You're more interested in your reputation than in the protection of children. What is the value that's being appealed to there? Protection of children. You're more interested in, why don't you sell your riches in the Vatican and give the money to the poor? What's the value there? Care for the poor, charity, justice even, maybe. You're more interested in your doctrine on marriage than in allowing gay people to be happy. What is the value there? Happiness of people, which we're all made to be happy, aren't we? And we are all made to be happy and to be free. And so if you think about it, 100% of all the cases that attack the church are based on values that come from the Catholic Church. Okay? So this is completely obvious when you think about it. And what the conclusion is that we recommend, and this is our course that lasts for weeks, is to read an article and to say, not to think, I would like to tell this person what the Catholic Church really says about this. Not to do that, because to do that is to defend yourself and to make it worse. But to say, what are the values that I hold? What are the values that the other person holds? And what's the common value that is common to us because it's a Christian value, which is behind every one of the criticisms. And then I'm going to start my speech, my answer from that point. And then from that point, I'm going to bridge onto the message that I have, which is the message that I had all the time. But now I'm going to give it through the common value. Okay? So, when we say, what about the case of abortion? What is the frame on the abortion debate that has been going on for decades? That the church has a doctrine on life, life is sacred. We have a doctrine called life is sacred, which is above what? Above what? It's more important to us than the woman, okay? Than her choice or her well-being or whatever, right? So we have a number of values. We have, our first value is the value of the life of the child, but we also have another value, which is to look after the woman, because we've realized that actually abortion is really bad for the woman as well, right? Okay? Yeah? So we have a number of values we're protecting. The other side have also a number of values. The freedom to do what you like, sexual liberation, but also looking after women who are vulnerable, right? Because they also, if you read the story of Abby Johnson, very famous activist, who used to work in Planned Parenthood, she says that she started working there because she wanted to help women in need, right? So that's very, very high up in the list of things. So here you have a value that is common. What is the common value in abortion stories? Helping vulnerable women, right? However, my instinct when I'm reading a story is to defend the life of the child, and for as long as I do that, I clash with the other, and nobody's listening to anyone else. So I need to give my message about life through the story of the vulnerable woman, okay? And this does not come naturally to me, because that's not the way that I've been trained. However, I can realize that this is the way that I'm getting my message heard. In this particular case, and in every case, I can see that there is a common value. Am I making sense? Yeah. Right? So your task is, when you hear a story, when you read an article, is to find the common value. Although your instinct will be to find your values that you want to defend. That will be your instinct. But I'm saying to you something which is perhaps unusual and controversial, which is to put our values to one side for a second, while you find the common value and start from there, right? So it's totally obvious, but that's what we do. How do we do that? Well, this is very interesting. This is from the same speech as the previous quote. which is we're going to do that only if we listen and we know where people are coming from. And we say, well, I know where people are coming from. Well, okay, but we need to listen more. And most people, here you have a great atmosphere and great teaching and everything, and in your own environments, but actually out there, the ideas are not very clear and very muddled, although there are lots of seeds of the gospel in contemporary culture, which we're tapping into. This wouldn't work unless this was true, that there's lots of seeds of the gospel in contemporary culture. So we know that, and that's why this works. But we listen, and how we listen to find those seeds of the gospel in the culture, and to understand, respect, and ponder. So what we call our method of communication is called reframing, which has got these 3 steps, right? Very simple. You understand the frame, this criticism, you find the common value, and then you have your message, your response, which has to start from the common value and move on to your message. If you don't have a message, if you're all you're doing, but it's difficult enough to get the common value, but anyway, if you manage to get that far and find the common value, but then you get so tired you stop there, then you haven't actually done anything because you haven't given your message. You have a message to give. Your message is not to say, oh, how nice is everybody, and let's go home. That's not your message. Although it appears to be at the beginning very empathetic and so on. It is because it plugs into the very truth of our hearts and their hearts. That's why it works, because it plugs into the truth of what's going on in our hearts of everybody. So we want to start our message from there. And then we say 3 points because we remember 3 points. 1, I connect, and then I explain, and then I give my message. Okay, so this is from London, right? London. And I have to emphasize, London people are very nice. But anyway, there were some posters here. And says, Pope promotes HIV and AIDS by denying condoms. Promotes. I think promotes is rather offensive, isn't it? Promotes. Right? What's the frame? Does anybody want to tell us what the frame of this poster is? What the frame is? Anyone? I mean, it's very similar to William.
We hate homosexuals and we're going to destroy them. Conspiracy to spread AIDS and HIV.
Okay. No, I didn't think so much. But I mean, for the ordinary bloke who thinks about.
I would say that we need condoms for health reasons.
Okay, we need them, right? That's what they're saying. But the Pope does not agree, and therefore what he's doing is causing death, right? Yeah? Because if we, as a society, decide that we need condoms to protect ourselves, and the Pope is against this, then the Pope is against protecting oneself, right? So it's in favor of death, right? Why should he be in favor of death? Because he seems to be a nice man, a nice old man living in Rome, but he's in favor of death because he has this doctrine, right? Yeah? So we're again into the same frame, aren't we? That we have the doctrine, which is above what? The life, the health and the lives of people, right? Because if the doctrine kills, if we have we sacrifice lives on the altar of our doctrine, okay, then it's pretty awful. I mean, imagine somebody told you, in the Catholic Church, we just do that. We sacrifice lives on the altar of our doctrine. I mean, that's pretty horrible, isn't it? If it were true. But if it isn't true. But the way to answer this is not to say, well, you're the most stupid person I ever met, because people don't listen. Or to say, let me tell you what the doctrine really is, because you haven't got it right. Because what this does is to confirm that our doctrine is more important. What happens when doctrine is more important than persons? These ideas become what? Like an ideology, right? Because we have this word ideology. Nobody knows exactly what it means, other than it sounds bad, an ideology. And I think, having listened to things, is that people call ideologies ideas that become more important than the people they're meant to serve, right? And so our doctrines have become somehow an ideology because they're not helping people. Okay, so here you have the frame that our doctrines are above the people and their need. Are above the life of people. So the common value is the life, people's lives, right? So what could be my starting point in answering this? How could I focus on it? Where could I start that actually makes the connection between me and the common value and then my message? Because my message has to ultimately be that actually we have a pretty good doctrine that helps people, but in order to get there, what would be my connection with the common value? Can you think?
Would you ask them a question?
No question. I give my statement.
Okay.
What could be my statement? I mean, to ask the question is to challenge and so on, so on, yeah.
I mean, can you start with pointing out the positive things the church does to help people who are sick, or you shouldn't bring church in at that level?
No, you church, yeah. Start with the church. My sentence starts with the church. But if you say the sick people, but we're not talking here, we're talking here about death, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
It's more than being sick, isn't it? People are dying. I mean, people are getting sick and then dying.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe all the work that is done by church agencies
All,
in Africa,
yes,
which is
all.
trying to help people who are
Yeah,
very, very sick, leading to death.
we do that.
We found hospitals and
Oleg.
I have an impression that today's society is too simplistic, and all those groups that try to give simple answers to complex questions. And if you look even at those, whatever like that, the idea, the goal is positive. So I'm against death, I'm for life. I'm against pedophiles, I'm for protection of children.
Good, okay. So we have the same thing, we want the same thing, which is the common value.
Right, so that's good, and therefore that is in common with Catholics. However, what is negative is the means, the way towards this goal.
Okay.
And the whole discussion might be about the means. Although, is the condom is a good mean towards this goal?
Okay.
Is something,
Okay. Okay. No, you've described the situation, but in fact, I think condoms is a distraction here in this particular poster, although it is the controversy. But really, at the heart of it is life. Sorry, somebody wanted to.
You could argue the church promotes fidelity, which is the safest way to keep life. And if you have 25 times intercourse with a condom, you also get AIDS.
Yeah.
So it's quite high.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yes. Okay. But in fact, if you talk about condoms, you have to defend yourself, which is not so helpful. No. But okay, I have an idea. I mean, there are many ways to do it.
what about the church believes in the dignity of human life?
Okay.
We believe that every life is precious to God and has a purpose.
Okay. So why don't you allow them to use condoms to protect themselves? If you believe that they are so valuable, there's some sort of disconnect there.
We know it's not, but I don't know how to get there. That's why I'm here.
Laura.
No, that's what I was saying to you last night. That's my question.
Okay.
I can say the church really cares about children. I can
Children.
say that.
No, sorry, we're
Pedophiles.
we're looking at the AIDS one. Yeah, but it's very similar. Very similar.
The church really
Cares about the AIDS
cares
sufferers.
about human life.
Yes.
But how do I get from
Okay.
that?
Okay.
That's what
Okay. Well, I have an idea then. What I would say, what I did say when this came up.
I don't know if I'm arguing again with, if my approach would be, there's a fallacy here in that statement. Maybe I'm taking the wrong, but I'm not finding the common good. But he was saying that, I'm going back to what he was saying, but what the Pope was trying to do was trying to break this fallacy that condoms are keeping us safe. In actual fact, they're not. So he's trying to wake us up to the danger of this false confidence in something. What he's trying to say is, wake up, people. They're not as safe. So he's trying to protect you from the disease.
Okay, we're almost there. Okay, right. But in fact, condoms you can leave till later because that's not at the heart of it. At the heart of it is life. I'm sure. if you think about it, the more you think about it, the more you realize that the heart of it is life, and why people are angry with the Catholic Church, because they don't understand this. They're angry because people are dying, not because condoms or not condoms. I mean, obviously they look at the condom and say, why don't you allow them to use this? The people are dying. But the anger is with the dying, right?
He's trying to stop them from dying.
South Africa.
Exactly. And he's right, okay? He's right. Therefore, this is what I would do. What I would do is to say, the Church saves many lives, okay? Because then I connect immediately. We're doing the same thing. The Church saves many lives. Its programs of fidelity and abstinence really work. You know, in this country, the rates go right down. We don't promote condoms because they're not effective. But we save many lives. We start with saving many lives. We don't start with our doctrine on condoms, right? Which is what people are thinking. People are thinking, you have a doctrine on condoms which stops you from saving people. And I'm saying, no, I have a doctrine on life which I save many lives, okay? And then I find that condoms are not effective. So that's fine. And then when people, and also I try to get the stigma out of AIDS so that I can look after them and cure some of them and look after them. And I look after most of the people who have AIDS in the world are looked after by the Catholic Church. So I get to all the steps, but I start from the Church saving many lives, which is the point at issue, okay?
So you say the Church saves many lives, it has many programs that are actually quite
They're the most effective according to UN AIDS. The Church prevention program, not the health care programs for people of AIDS, sick with AIDS, which also are very, very effective. No, but the Church prevention, the AIDS prevention programs, the most effective AIDS prevention programs belong to the Catholic Church in Africa. And these programs are responsible for saving most lives so far, okay? So we should be proud of this because we believe in life. We'll save many lives. We do it first and then we talk about it. Because we connect with the real point at issue, is not whether you can use condoms or not, it's whether people are dying, okay? So I get to the heart of the problem, which is the common value. The common value is people should not die unnecessarily, or people should not suffer, or people should be happy. This is the common value, and I start from there always. And the rest is detail.
The Pope knows the horror.
Sorry?
The Holy Father, the Pope knows the horror of these diseases.
Yes. Exactly, but think about it. It's not what the Holy Father, because if I start defending the Holy Father as if my task was to defend the Holy Father, then I'm falling into the frame again, okay? Because what they want is really good, to save lives, and I want to save lives, so we want the same page. And the condoms is detail, right? It's not important. I have to talk about it because it's in the controversy, but it's not the main point, right? And I know that condoms are ineffective, and that's what the Pope said. Okay, but if I start by saying, look, let me tell you that condoms are ineffective. I'm defending a doctrine which they think for me is a dogma, which it isn't a dogma.
No, I'm starting with a subjective, personal thing. Like, I know the horror of AIDS. I've worked with them as a nurse. I know
Okay.
it's awful.
Okay.
And I'm just bringing him into that. He knows the pain.
He knows the pain, right? Okay.
He knows the suffering. He knows, as our church is the first line of
Okay.
medical care, of compassionate care for these victims.
Okay.
I'm just bringing him into that personal. That's very.
Okay, so similar. But anyway, I'm just trying to illustrate a principle. And the other one is very similar, right? So the Pope protects pedophile priests. That's the perception in the frame, because we have a reputation to guard, which is more important than the protection of children. My answer, the common value is the protection of children. So therefore, my answer must be: the Church really protects children. It has done something wrong in the past, but look at what's happening in America and in Britain and so on. All this, because it's very important to protect all the children. And now it's so tightly controlled that if anything goes wrong, it's immediately dealt with. Okay, so we are protected. Our children are protected, which is what is the common value. And if we don't address the common value, we're not addressing the issue.
Yeah, but you're not just you are addressing the common value, but the really interesting thing is you're focused, right? You're saying The church saves lives. The church protects children.
Yes.
If I just address the common value, I'll say, oh, I really care about,
Yeah.
you know, but you're more, this is better because it's more.
This is doing. This is the doing.
You
Yeah.
on the path to actually speak to that issue.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
We do this. We do this. We save lives. We protect children. Yeah.
But then you have to know the second step, right? So
We need to know all the facts.
yeah, that's
If we don't know all the facts, we are lost.
so that you can do
Yeah.
something that will-
So somebody, if a Catholic reads a newspaper and says, why Mother Teresa is still no saint, which we're going to do now in a minute, and you don't know anything about the case, then it's very difficult to answer because you feel, oh no, Mother Teresa was a really nice woman, you know. I mean, I know she was really nice because we pray to her in church, you know. But you don't know the facts. I think it's really important to know the facts. But the facts are on our side because of two reasons. One is every criticism is based on a value that belongs to us, so it's common. So there's always a common value. There's always that seed of the gospel in the other, okay? That's always the case. And second, the facts will be on our side, because if it weren't on our side, then our doctrines would be no good and we would have to throw them away. But our doctrines are good, therefore we must trust in the facts, okay? So once you know, it's easy, but now we're going to try and do it in practice, okay? So, but we're going to build bridges, encounter, inclusion, all these words that the Pope says, because this is really communication. I want my messages to be heard. I want my messages to be heard, the messages of the Church. So I want to do it in the most effective way possible. And this is the way that we have found to build peace and harmony. So just as a summary, this is the three things I've told you. Every controversy is an opportunity to communicate our message. So if you have something difficult in the newspaper, that for 10 minutes people are paying attention to you, okay? Before that, they couldn't care about you. So use those 10 minutes really well. To tell your story, you need to step outside the frames which prevent you being heard. And to do that, you find the shared value and you always start from there, okay? 2 days ago, we launched Catholic Voices launched its parish program, which is, we have been 7 years training people and sending them to media. But over the last couple of years, we've decided that many people would like to hear what we do and why we do it. And so we've trained the last two groups of our speakers, we've trained them to go to parishes and schools and talk like I'm talking to you now, and talk about the method and talk about topics. And we have a program which we run as a pilot in 5 parishes in Lent. And we're going to now roll out to all parishes in the south of England and then next year in the north of England. So we're going to try and put this program throughout the country. And we launched it on Wednesday, the 14th. Today is Saturday. So 2 days ago, we launched it in London with Cardinal Nichols, who gave a little introduction saying this is wonderful. He's always been behind the project, supporting it from the beginning, and he was supporting us then. And we had, so I introduced it, and then a man called Brendan, who some of you might know, is the one running this project for us, the training of the people for parishes. And he spoke explaining what had been done. And then one of the priests in the pilot explained how in his parish people had come to the talks and hadn't been to Mass before and had come to Mass after that, and he was really happy. And then a young man spoke who was the evangelizing, the parish, some parish person that the parish used, and he'd organized the pilot in his parish in East London. No, East London. If you know London, East London is, East London-like. And then he spoke. He's 20 years old, and he said, "Oh, these talks were excellent, and what I really liked was all these people full of love for God, for Christ, speaking about what they had in their hearts, and people listening and understanding how they did it." Okay, so we had questions from different people, and then at the end, the Cardinal said, "Oh, I have a question for Jason. You said that you had all these people full of love for Christ speaking, but so often I find," he said, "I find that I want to talk about the love of Christ, but in fact, all I'm asked about is gay marriage and abortion and euthanasia, right? And isn't that a bit of a waste? And this young man, and I thought, wow, this is the Holy Spirit speaking through the youth, said, oh no, that's yeah, okay, right. But in this case, what we found was that with this method, which he explained, what you're doing is you are not attacking anybody. You're never attacking. You're always loving people, and you're always finding what's good in them, right? And what I found, he said, what I found was that the process of finding what's good in the other is like an evangelization. You know, it's like the love of Christ being poured out. And the cardinal thought, wow, that's amazing. That, you know, he was really, the whole room went silent when this 20-year-old spoke. But I think this has the power to do this, you know, that we are actually never, when I understand this method, I understand I never have to fight anyone else ever again. And I never have to oppose all my enemies, so to speak. I don't have any enemies because I just have to understand that they want the same thing as me in a different way, and I have to explain how I am also going there, perhaps even faster, right? Yeah.
What would you say to the viewpoint that if you're having, say, conception, that someone's asking about conception, that it almost, if I'm trying to talk to you about conception, you're asking me about it, then if you don't actually believe in God, then to actually have a conversation about conception is just not, there's no point in having that conversation about conception because you don't believe in God, so you can't even...
Yeah, could be. I mean...
And isn't that almost the situation in the media, that you can make like a small impression, and of course presenting an argument well is a good idea, but when we're dealing with a society in the media that, like, we're not even, why are we talking about, you know, these details when the media and society don't even believe in, like, God?
Okay.
You know, I don't want to...
Okay. Well, contraception is not an issue that ever comes up in media because it's beyond the pale. It's beyond the pale, right? But there are many other controversial issues that come up. They have decided the controversial. The Catholic Church has this weird doctrine nobody understands, so they're never going to ask about it. Yes, homosexuality or whatever, that comes up a lot. Okay, so no, they don't believe in God, but that's what I'm assuming. The other side, the other doesn't believe in God, but the seeds of the gospel are in his thinking, and I'm joining myself to those. Okay, I'm loving him or her through, and I'm finding that we have all these things in common, which are the values that we hold in common, and then I'm speaking through those. So it doesn't matter that they don't believe in God. However, also in the media, I'm not speaking to the journalist. The journalist is like a mechanism, right? I'm speaking to the public, and whether I convert 1 or 0 or 1 or 1,000 is not up to me, right? That's up to God. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a different thing, which is I'm trying to communicate with people. So when I try to do this on a one-to-one basis with my friends, okay, this is when I find that I'm no longer intimidated because I'm not opposing anybody, right? I'm finding the good in the other. Now, if the others, oh, I don't believe in God, okay, but all the values that they hold are the values that I hold because we live in these Christian societies that we have created. I'm not sure this applies to contraception. I'm not sure because I haven't thought about it because we have a book with 10 controversial topics, which is this one. No, it's not here. It's this book, How to Defend the Faith Without Raising Your Voice, which is available. I didn't bring any copies, unfortunately, but it's now available in 10 different languages: French, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, and we don't cover that there, or we cover it a little bit. But there, you've got 200 pages of facts and arguments to do with a common value for each of these topics. Homosexuality, everything. So we need to study a lot. So I'm just going to give you examples. Now, I can't, once you've done the next hour of examples, then you can say, well, yes, okay, it helped me. Okay, in the meantime, I recommend we get this book and we study it. Honestly, we got lots of facts. Yeah.
So if I paraphrase in my way of thinking, what you're trying to accomplish is that when sometimes we have a tendency, or at least I may have a tendency, to when somebody comes up and attacks my beliefs, is that I may assume that they're doing it out of an evil intention because they are either steeped in sin or don't believe in God, and so my reaction is, whereas if my child came up to me and said something like that, and said, well, why are we doing this?
That's really good.
I know he's good, and I know he's holy, or there is
Yeah.
good in him. Let me explain in the right way, in a loving way, to get him to the same point. That's a completely different.
Completely different. That's a very good example. Very good example, because it's your child. If he repeats something from the paper, you know that, and also that he's moved by good things. And so you try to connect with those good things he's moved by, which are the same ones as you. Exactly. So you're talking a loving way to them. So you have that same approach to everybody. That's really great. Yeah.
And you're not, because you're not fighting with them. I've always found that I say things when I'm giving a talk that I can't say to somebody one-on-one, because one-on-one is an attack. When I'm saying it to a group, obviously I wasn't thinking about this person. I'm just saying something. Similarly here, because of the way you frame this, say the church saves lives. These programs have been so successful, and I know what those programs are. And then the conclusion is in opposition to where the person started, but I've done that without in any way putting them on the defensive. And that's different than a relationship. You know, I'm not having it's not you're not talking here, though it's an approach, but about having a relationship, you're talking about saying something that they will then hopefully continue to think about. It's that 10-minute window.
Exactly. It's like opening the window. Yeah.
Opening the window. I think that's huge. So whatever their presupposition is, you have now given them something to think about without raising their defenses.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what we try to do. So let's go to one of the articles that we had here. There were 6, but we'll do a couple together, and then we'll ask the others we'll divide into little groups and study the others. But the first one is very simple. This is the simplest of all, because Mother Teresa was a great heroine to everyone, and yet there was this critic called Christopher Hitchens. I'm going to summarize the article, so those of you who haven't read it. If you have read it, it'll be easier for you to understand this. But basically, he said that Mother Teresa received money from many people, some of which were a bit dodgy sources of money. But in any case, she was not a very good accountant, so you wouldn't know where this money went to. And then she also medically was a disaster, because she reused needles and various other things, and people died and so on. And is it possible that she was just trying to convert people to the faith and all instead of curing them, right? So here we have something that somebody wrote, one of the few people who dared to attack our great heroine, and he put her into a frame which is similar to what we were saying before, wasn't it? It's very similar. With all these things, what he's saying is that for Mother Teresa, her own religion, mission, everything is over. It's more important than the people that she's trying to help, in inverted commas, right? Do you see that the frame is very, very similar? When we hear these things from Christopher Hitchens, R.I.P., who was an atheist. I mean, I suppose he's not an atheist now that he's dead. And he said all these things, and he's putting the same frame. Now I understand it. I read it, I say, oh, it's the same thing again. Mother Teresa is more interested in her religion, her place, her things, than in helping people in what they really need, okay? So, in that case, think about this. What is the common value? Which is very obvious, okay? And then, how would you start speaking about this common value, okay? So just talk to your neighbor, the person next to you. That's a very simple question of this article. What's the common value here? And the frame is what people are thinking about her. We've seen that. It's very similar to everything we've done. What's the common value? That seed of the gospel. And then what could be a way to answer that? A couple of minutes. Just talk to your wife.
But can I just ask a question?
Yes.
I mean, in such a situation,
Yes.
I find it hard to believe that really he had a good common value, but can we project what could be the common value?
There is a common value there.
Okay.
Yes, very obviously. You find it. No? Well, you find it. Have you decided? Javier, what's your name?
Scott.
Scott, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes. Javier, you have to sort it out with Scott and find out if you find the right answer. Okay, right, okay. Have we got the answer now? Shh. Somebody said that Christopher Hitchens couldn't have a value that we shared, but that's not actually true. So we do have, or we could project, no, he has a value that we absolutely share that is at the heart of this controversy, which is what?
Helping dying people.
Care for dying people in what they really need, not in what I think they need, right? In what they really need, yeah.
But my position is more that I don't really believe, because of the other writings of his, that he really
Okay.
thinks about that. But is it okay for us, therefore, to project onto his position what others could conceivably see as a good element? Whether he...
Well, but just a minute. I don't know whether he believes, because you can never read into somebody's conscience. However, I don't know what he believes. But throughout this criticism that we read in this article here from the Washington Post is the idea that why isn't this woman helping people in the way they really need instead of helping herself, okay? And therefore, out of this comes the idea that we're all seeking to help the people in what they really need, okay? Do we agree?
Yeah.
That's the value that that she wanted, that we want, that this article is saying that she didn't do, yeah? So what could be a way to prove that she did, as she does? Because we're not saying, I really care about the poor. That's not enough. That's not good enough. It's not good enough.
The fact that she lived for 40 years in the worst conditions with those people.
Okay.
Herself. And so many 100,000 of her sisters are worldwide living with those people.
Okay, so you give the witness of her life. Look,
She's going on.
her witness of her life and of her children, of her sisters, her daughters, who are carrying on looking after the sick in the way they really need, or what?
Yes,
or because now they were dying because they were using this syringes and everything. Is that true? Is that true?
For example,
It's not true.
No, it's not. No,
This might be true.
It's true because
Yeah.
she was in India in
Yes.
horrible
Okay.
conditions where she had only one needle.
Okay.
She had not the luxury
Okay.
of any needle.
So she did her best.
And what is funny is that she was treating 90% non-Christians.
Okay,
And
good.
leaving them to die as non-Christians.
Okay.
That's very interesting.
Yes, interesting. Yes, good. Okay. So she did not impose anything. She was helping them in what they really needed, which was what? Do we know?
They
Love
needed,
and care.
Sorry? Love. Exactly. So I should go there, shouldn't I? At the beginning, I should go there, because what I thought immediately when I read this article, and I was asked in the media, was, Mother Teresa is my great hero because she did one thing that nobody else has done in the world, which is to love the people nobody loves. She went to the streets and loved the people nobody loves. Everybody rejected these people, and she took them on. So because that's what they really need, more than the money and the accounting and the, So she did what she gave to people what they really needed. And that's why we put her up here in a pedestal, because she was really close to God and did something. She was so close to God that she did something that none of us dare to do.
Sorry,
Yeah.
just playing like.
Yeah, devil's advocate, yeah.
Yeah, but she is a good example of someone when she was asked by the media, she didn't sort of try and relate to the person. She was really extremely black and white. So
Yeah.
someone asked her about abortion.
Oh yes, she gave me the
She
baby.
would say, you know, abortion's murder. So she was definitely not using your technique
No.
trying to identify.
No, okay.
So why?
That's fine, but she shouldn't speak about what she does, because we're talking about somebody who's died. The controversy about abortion, that's a different controversy that she was asked about. But now, in this particular issue, which is the canonization, and the controversy that arose out of that, she's already dead, and I'm speaking about her, okay? So it's different, it's a different case. But in your case, okay, we can study that one, but she spoke about, give me the child, you know, this is very difficult, but give me the child and I look after it. I look after all the children, which is very much in keeping with, because I give them what they really need, which is love, even though they're fruit of rape or whatever.
Maybe it's also that, I mean, people are always going to listen to her, but they're not going to listen to us, so she can use a different technique.
Maybe, yes. But in any case, that's a different problem. I haven't studied the problem of abortion and Mother Teresa and her speeches on that, okay? But that's a different thing. I'm coming to the position where I am being attacked about different Catholic things that are happening that I didn't do, okay? Because none of us are the cause of any of these articles here, right? And yet they're all written, and they're all written negatively about things that we hold dear. And that's what I'm trying to achieve, to talk about, okay? But I'm not trying to be nice only, although it may be that it sounds like being nice. I'm trying to connect with what is deepest in my heart and in the heart of the other, okay? If it transpires that I'm also nice, that's okay. But I'm trying to connect, okay? I'm not saying I'm trying to be nice, no, okay, I mean, maybe nice.
You want to move toward the truth of the doctrine.
Exactly,
Not that you're
yes.
denying it,
No.
or like we're just all going to be good friends.
No, exactly. So I want to move. So I want to say Mother Teresa did what nobody else did, to love. And then I want to move about Catholicism is a religion that teaches you to love your neighbor, to love your enemy, to love everybody, okay? And that's what the Catholic Church does everywhere, in all places, at all times. So that would be my message, maybe, which I started off by being Mother Teresa and not defending myself against anything to do with medicine or about money or anything, because that's irrelevant. But I want to give my message about the Catholic Church being a church that preaches love of neighbor and love their enemies, and is going to make a completely different world in which we all want to live. Okay?
It's the second point Aristotle makes about how to use rhetoric, right?
Yeah.
Figure out how to meet the emotions of your audience, and that's the way to do it.
So here is a little example that I don't know if you know this girl here. And this is another article that was in the list. I don't know, anybody read it? Students at top university ban pro-life group because it would be a barrier to freedom. Did anybody read it?
Yes.
You read it? Who else? You read it? Okay, so I'll summarize it briefly in that there is clubs and societies for everything, sports, culture, different things of society, in British universities. But in Strathclyde University, which is in Glasgow, there was no pro-life club. And when the students, some of my friends of mine, went to set it up, because they need permission from the university to set up a desk at the Freshers' Fair at the beginning of term, they were denied this permission on the basis that abortion is a controversial topic that hurts women who have had abortion or thinking about that or whatever, or had some sort of experience, and that this university is a safe space and we cannot offend anybody, offend women, and your club will offend women and therefore is not allowed. And they go out and they have a demonstration about freedom of speech, because it's incredible that in the 21st century, 200 years after the French Revolution, we still haven't got the freedom to speak. Okay, it's intolerable. Right? And the university is intolerant, and that's really terrible. That's their speech, okay? But I want to know now, and then the media comes to them and says, so what's happening? and they have to speak. And I want to know, if you were running this club, you were this girl, what would you say? Okay, you could say, as she did, this is intolerable. The university is intolerant, and it's incredible that in the 21st century we're in this position, okay? Or you could say something different. I would like you to think of this as a possibility. What is the frame? What is the university thinking about me? That's the frame. About them. What are they thinking about this pro-life group? Second, what is the common value, if any, between what the university is saying and the pro-life people? And therefore, what could be a better answer than to say that? Okay, if there is a better answer, or maybe that's the answer that you would like. Can you talk to your neighbor and work this out? Okay, are we ready? Somebody else who hasn't, Mr. Healy, I was told that you were Mr. Healy. Do you have any ideas about the frame?
No, the frame is, we are both concerned about...
No, the frame of what they think about me. Then the common value comes second. What they're thinking about me as a pro-life. I want to start this pro-life society. What the university think about me?
Condemning women, and we're interested in restricting women.
Why? Why do we want that?
Because we have a doctrine.
Okay, which goes above the women. So my doctrines make me behave in an intolerable way to women and restrict their freedom. Okay, so that's the frame, right? So I'm bad for women. This club is bad for women, right? More or less. So what's the common value?
Well, I'm glad that you share a concern for women, because I have a concern for women too.
Okay, good. So that's the common value. Before we give the speech, is that our common value. Do we agree that the common value is conserve for vulnerable women? Because they are talking about you're going to hurt vulnerable women. Okay. I care about babies, but I also care about vulnerable women in my pro-life society, right? So what could be my speech if I am asked by the media about this debacle of them not being allowed? What could this girl chose to speak about freedom of expression. What would you speak about? If you know the frame and the common value, what would you speak about? Somebody else.
That we want to create a safe space about dogs.
About?
About dogs. That university is saying that they want to have safe space. So
we also want a safe space?
Yes, so women are not harassed.
Women are not harassed, okay.
So
all right.
Create a safe space for women to talk about.
Okay, okay, that's good. Yeah.
I think also just to talk directly, like they really think they're going to harass students going into the abortion clinics, like letting them know, like I want them to know just that they have another option.
Okay.
The woman, like make the best decision.
Okay, so as Mr. Healy was telling us, I think my opinion is that if I really want to create communication, I shouldn't speak about freedom. I should speak about why my pro-life society is good for women. That should be my speech. Now, I haven't crafted it yet, and I need to know what's going on in that university and everything. But really, unless my speech is about that this club is really good for women, okay, unless it's that, then I'm not communicating, because you know when I see this and I'm being told your club hurts women, okay, that's what people are thinking, your club hurts women, and I say I want freedom to have my club. What is being heard by the public? I want freedom to hurt women, right? And the more freedom I want, the more I hurt women. It's a paradox, isn't it? I want freedom to do this good thing, but what is being heard is I want freedom to hurt women. That's what is being heard, unfortunately, because of the way that the news is framed. Isn't that amazing?
What about, our society, our group is for women, and we want them to know the choices that are available.
Exactly. Now you have many things to say, okay? But I haven't actually constructed a speech. All I'm saying is that the nature of the speech should be my society is really good for women because it gives them information about choice, it gives them information why abortion is really bad for them, okay? And it's going to help them and is going to be a really great asset to this university because of the help we're going to get to women.
And we are for women from birth.
We're for women from birth, okay. We're also, half the people we're protecting are women, right?
But these women.
Yes.
There's a tremendous rage there.
Yes.
About control over their own bodies.
Yes, yes.
That nobody else should have that control
okay.
in any way. And I think that's one of the reasons it's so hard to open a conversation.
Okay.
Because they don't want to hear it.
All right.
We just had that the march
Okay.
in Washington.
Okay, yes. But I'm not talking here to the raging woman. I'm talking to the public, okay? And the public also care about these raging women. But if I say I care about them, we're all going to talk about the same thing now, right? I talk to the public. And most of the public are not raging, but they are hurting. They're hurting, and they're scared, and they realize that there is some hurt there on women, and that the way this news is framed is that we don't care about them. That's what we must get over. Do we understand this? Right.
Is it possible sometimes that there are multiple frames?
Yes. Yes, and also multiple values. But there are many values, some of which they might have values which are very bad, like we mustn't allow anything pro-life here, anything Catholic, but I have to ignore all of that. Now, there is also multiple frames here, but the biggest frame to me on this discussion is that these students haven't understood that they're actually connecting with this frame. They think that they're being forbidden because they're pro-life, and that's full stop, okay? But in fact, at the heart of that, there is a value they hold in common that they should tap into. That's my opinion. In communication.
Freedom of speech also not
Yes, but on its own, it makes it worse. On its own, unless you prove that your thing is good. Because you don't want freedom of speech for a homophobic society or for an anti-Islamic society. You don't want that. You don't want for an anti-Jewish society. You don't want any of that. Therefore, there are situations where you don't want things to happen, okay? Right? You can think of situations where some societies you would not want to be there.
That in and of itself is a subframe, in a sense, of what is tolerance or what is freedom of speech.
Yeah. But the way to get out of it is to ignore that and to say, my thing is good. Therefore, there's no need to talk about freedom here because my thing is good. It's really very good. So it should be allowed. This is communication. Now, if you want a campaign to make sure that things happen, that's a different thing, okay? We need to think about different things. But I'm talking about communication to people, communication to the crowds. That's how we... Now, there are 4 other articles, so I suggest that we divide into 4, and then each group just look at one article. And then in 15 minutes, each group send one person here and we tell us what the answer is. And what we want to know for that article is, what is the frame? What are people thinking about you, about Catholics in that story? What is the common value between the two? And what is a possible speech, not the whole speech, but just how would you start that your answer, right? So the National Geographic girl, okay? So maybe we could have this here on the National Geographic girl, this group here. Then this second group here can do the sex selective abortions in England, okay? And then this third group here you more with about the 2 nuns who get married to each other. And then here you can talk about the guy in Scotland who wants to do assisted suicide, okay? Yeah. So more or less join the group that you like, but then talk about yourselves for 15 minutes about this article.
So the name of the article is Troll Attack Brave Transgender Girl for a National Geographic cover. And it's about a 9-year-old transgender girl who, a boy who had a transgender surgery performed, and then at 9 years old was put on the cover of National Geographic on a special issue about gender and the gender spectrum, and especially using the terminology of the beauty of the trans community, the beauty of the gender spectrum. So the mother of Avery Jackson took to Facebook, to social media, really praising her daughter and excited about this decision, and there was a lot of backlash. So one Christian group was quoted in this article as saying, "Be warned, parents and godparents, National Geographic shakes a fist at God and biblical authority." And then it's not exactly clear whether it's Christian communities saying these following comments, but they're tied together regardless, that many people are commenting, calling for or criticizing the parenting style, criticizing that this would be allowed, to the point of saying these people should be killed, or really that they should kill themselves. The mother in particular should kill herself. So obviously a very troubling issue. And I think the frame here can be simply stated, right? The church hates transgender people, the transgender community. And I think really zeroing in on the issue, it's that the church has a doctrine about gender that they will defend even at the expense of children. And in this case, in this particular child, the church cares more for their doctrine about gender than about this child, about Avery Jackson, about her health and her happiness, because both are commented in this article saying that the mother's afraid of what this will mean for her son, her daughter's health and psychology. And so I think the core value we get is the care for children, especially through their psychological health and their happiness. And what we need to not talk past or avoid or miss is this sense that the question, does the church care for these children? And so I think our response needs to be, first, we do love children, and we do even see gender as this very beautiful thing, that identity in gender is very important for both health and happiness. But I think we should respond by saying that, in fact, there can be another problem, which is the pressure on children to identify or to change their gender. Or what we can see on this National Geographic cover, a 9-year-old exposed to so much media attention based on this decision. That was one of the moments cited in the article, is that at the age of 4, she said she was a girl. And so much public attention, so much focus. These are things we want to protect children from, protect them from pressure about their gender. Now, a couple of things we can point out also, especially Johns Hopkins University is a great example. Formerly spearheading some of the transgender surgeries and initiatives. They've scaled it back drastically because of one of the most comprehensive studies showing a strong correlation between the gender change surgeries and suicide rates, which evidences very clearly that this is not helping their happiness nor their health. It's harming it in the worst way possible. So what we want to respond, I think the way we want to respond is saying that we don't see this really helping children. We don't see this defending their health or their happiness. In fact, we see this as a potential for pressure and dangerous to them. And so, as a church, one of the reasons we would oppose this is to care for the children, to defend their identity as it is, and to help them find happiness in there, especially through counseling, through proper understanding of psychology. And so,
more important than the person, and we're always turning that around. The person comes before the institution. That's how people listen today. So shall we have number 2 now? The second volunteer, who is the group number 2 was about the abortion thing.
The sex-selective abortion?
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Let's see.
So this article was about how in the UK you can have a test from 18 to 21 weeks that would reveal the sex of the child, but often women aren't given that information because there's a concern that they might abort based on sex. And so this woman, Professor Wendy Savage, thinks that women ought to be given that information before 24 weeks, because before 24 weeks, they can abort for any reason. After 24 weeks, they need a medical reason. If you don't allow them to abort before, if you don't give them that information, and then they can't abort, then they will have mental health problems. Because, I don't know, because they will have mental health problems.
Because they want a boy and they get a girl or something.
Because they want a boy and they get a girl. And it will be bad for the child because he or she will be being carried by and then living with a parent who didn't want that sex. And further, that there's a concern that that there will be, as a result of either doing or not doing this, more back alley abortions. So what we were talking about was that the frame is that we don't care about the mental and physical health of women.
Because we have a doctrine that is very, very strong.
Right,
yeah.
Against killing babies.
Yes, okay.
The common value then is that we do care about the mental and physical health of women, so that's where we need to start. And the possible speech would have something to do with the truth is that, so we start out with, we care so much about the mental and physical health of women, and experience has shown that abortions actually cause physical problems for women, and they have mental complications. And if I had more figures, I could give you some.
Yes,
of those,
exactly.
but,
Yeah. You will have those figures. Yeah.
Right. So that was our thought.
Good. And also that most gender abortions are to kill women. That's
good.
the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The main reason gender abortion happens is to kill women, baby women, because they want boys. In England, it's the Asian community who kill all their girls because they want a boy to start the family always. So the gender side, this measure is anti-women. You are a woman, you defend women. You do not want women to be killed just because they are women. So you put yourself on the side of the women who are attacked, including the little babies who are going to be killed because they are women, just because they are women. Right?
Yes, that makes total sense.
So okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Very good. Now, what about the assisted suicide?
They didn't tell me I had to go upstairs.
Oh, that's right. Okay, then the next victim then. I mean, volunteer. The next volunteer. And then we'll have the fun one of the two nuns at the end.
So, do you know the summary of the story?
Just briefly, tell us.
So the summary of the story is a gentleman has MS for 20 years and it's getting progressively worse, and there's a lot of instances of him suffering and falling on the floor and being alone in the dark, unable to get help, and nobody knew he was on the floor for hours and hours. And other examples similar to that. And so therefore he's working diligently to overturn the law, and while he can still talk, because eventually he won't be able to talk with this disease. Okay, so we're framing the argument is sacredness of life, right?
Their frame is that for us, sacredness of life comes before what?
Comes before his personal suffering.
Exactly.
His
yes.
difficulty.
Yeah.
So the first thing we want to do is acknowledge how difficult this is for him.
So the common value is this
the common value is avoiding suffering.
Avoiding suffering
no
in people.
one wants
yes.
to see anyone
Good.
suffer.
Okay.
Or watch someone they love suffer. So that would be the common, and then our response would be that we don't want to eliminate the person, we want to eliminate the suffering. And that therefore, with this individual person, we want to protect him and help him, but we also want to protect others who are suffering. in near end-of-life issues. And that people won't think that the only solution for them is to end their life rather than be compassionate and walk with them in their suffering.
So if you change the law, you stop protecting them because they then become vulnerable. That's the point, isn't it?
Yes, protection.
You change the law, you stop protecting the people who are vulnerable because of pressures, personal pressures, family pressures and so on. They would be pressurized to kill themselves when they, in fact, that's not what they want.
You add stress.
Sorry?
You add stress to the victim.
Yeah, not only stress, but so much pressure that, in fact, they might kill themselves because they're no longer protected by the law that stops that from happening. But you're not protecting your doctrine, you're protecting the people. This is the key thing here. In protecting the people, you protect your doctrines, not the other way around. In protecting,
so you're actually you're making clear the ordination of the law. The law is for the sake of
yes,
the people.
for the people, exactly.
You're just making that clear.
And then your law makes sense because it's protecting the people and your doctrine because they are worth it. These people are worth it, you know. We're not getting rid of them. The people, everyone's worth it. Okay, thank you. Now, who's going to come and talk to us about the two nuns? William! Good. Is it the great disagreement about this?
Well, no, we had a good discussion. The story is of two nuns who meet each other in some charitable work in Italy, fall in love, leave their orders and get married with the help of a priest who's also left the ministry because he is a promoter of homosexual marriage. And of course the frame here is that the church's doctrine of marriage is something negative that we're putting over and against people's temporal happiness. Everybody should have the right to be happy in this life, and our doctrines and the way we stand with our doctrines includes that. Now, the common ground seems to be that love between individuals is a good thing and is essential for happiness in this life. And so we would probably then seek to build an argument that says, absolutely, and there is nothing wrong with a very sort of committed and lifelong love between individuals who are of the same sex. For example, me and my brother, me and my father. But not every relationship, which is a loving, deep, committed relationship, needs to be instantiated in marriage. The reason being that marriage has another significance. It's significance for really the undergirding of society. So while we can affirm individuals strongly in their love for each other, that doesn't mean we think that in each case marriage is a suitable outcome. Now, where the disagreement is that, okay, that is only part of the issue, because if you look at the story, there's three things you could go with here. You could go with breaking their vows, because they were all in vows, probably of no interest to anybody in the media or in the outside world.
Or in the outside world either.
But the other issue is the intrinsic immorality of homosexual intercourse, which is presumably all homosexual behaviour, which is obviously going to be part of this. And the difficulty there is that we couldn't think of any common ground between us and the people we are.
And in fact, you don't know. So you suspect, but you don't know, and therefore, if you talk about it, you're making a judgment, aren't you? What you do know is that they have regard for each other and they want to live together, and they may want to do other things you don't know. Okay,
yeah.
But
that seems strong to me, because strong claim, because I mean, people who are, while we cannot know many things, it seems like we can make, I think, fair enough ballpark judgments in these situations. The issue simply was that we couldn't find any. I mean, what was it? The person said, "Hey, stop doing all that framing business. Don't give me this common value. I want to know what you think about this." then we've got an issue.
You mean Tim Farron? Do you agree with gay sex with Tim Farron? You know Tim Farron, the politician. Oh, you don't know the Liberal Democrat? Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been following it.
Okay.
But the issue was that we thought that we couldn't go with that simply because we couldn't, but there may be, we weren't seeing it clearly enough. Maybe there is a common value in our position vis-a-vis homosexual sex and the position that they would have. It just wasn't.
There
clear
isn't a
enough
common
to
value
us.
there,
Okay.
therefore
So
there
we
isn't
can't go this avenue, it seems.
Exactly. You can't go this avenue because there's no common value, because what they aspire to do and what you think they should aspire to do is different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but there is many common values. The love between them is good. The charitable work they did and still do is good. So all those are common values. But in any case, you're protecting their love whilst defining marriage differently. And this is, we must do more of that, right? More of protecting people, affirming people's love while explaining our doctrine of marriage, which is a different thing. So that they could be in the room and say, look, I'm very happy with your affection and all the work, and affirm all the work that you're doing, whilst at the same time I have a different vision of marriage which has a different aim.
Yeah, I suppose we would be affirming in a general sense that we're happy with their affection for each other in certain parameters.
Well, I'm happy with their affection for each other because ubi caritas et amor Deus sibi est, and God is always in any love. But whatever they do later, they know already what I'm thinking, so I don't need to say it. Right? So, okay, now we have 1 minute. So my hope is the following, that this has been very, very quick because we have a training program which lasts several weeks, in which we study all the topics, that we have the book, and we go through every topic for several hours, studying all the ins and outs, all the 10 controversial topics, and then we study articles and we keep doing, and then we do interviews, and then we simulate speaking with people outside and so on. But I hope that I've given you some idea that when you read the newspaper or watch the news from now on, you don't immediately confront it, but you think, right, what is the frame here? What are they thinking about me? What is the common value in this thing? And how would I speak? Because honestly, I've been doing this for several years now, and it's been a complete revolution to my way of speaking, even though I've been in Opus Dei for 40 years, but I've only been doing this for the last 7 years. So it's been a great revolution to me, to how I speak to people, to do it in this way, that is not just being nice, but actually being able to get to the bottom of what's in my heart and actually communicate all my messages fully, but through their values. So I think that's the discovery. So I hope you've liked it, and it's been an introduction to something that will make a difference to your lives later. Right.